Productivity, procrastination, two things that all people aspiring to success often struggle with. So I went and got you one of the most productive persons I know, David Solar. David Solar, please introduce yourself and yeah.
Hey Amar, and hey everyone. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. It's always hard to introduce myself because there's so many things that I can say, but I never know what I actually am. But I'm gonna do my best. As you mentioned, I have been working with people in terms of productivity, procrastination, and the flow state. I try to be productive myself. I come from Prague, Czech Republic. I am 25 years old. I studied in the United States. I studied biochemistry. So I went from biochemistry to productivity. I have been playing tennis my whole life. So I really enjoy sports, reading books, learning about the flow state, philosophy, thinking about life. I'm a very social person. I like talking to people. And probably my most favorite thing is to travel. I have been traveling a lot and I want to keep traveling. So that's something that I really enjoy.
That sounds amazing, but if you studied biochemistry, like why did you jump into productivity? Like what happened over there? Didn't you like that subject?
Good question. Well, they go hand in hand because in biochemistry, we learn about the chemicals in our brain and what's happening in our body. And for example, in the flow state, there's a lot of biochemical reactions happening. So by learning about biochemistry, it was a little preparation for going into these topics. And I have to say about biochemistry, I liked it, but I didn't love it. So I knew that I don't want to be a scientist. I don't want to spend a lot of time in the lab. But also, when I was around 17 or 18, I met a guy that was working with athletes, helping them with their mental game. And he introduced me to topics such as breathwork, philosophy, and just all these different topics. And I started really enjoying it. So already since I was, I think, 17, that's when it started. Started reading books, started talking to people about these things, a lot of philosophy, especially Eastern philosophy, and then doing a lot of meditation, a lot of breathing, a lot of mindfulness. And I think naturally I went into procrastination, productivity, flow state, because it all goes hand in hand. If you are more productive, you're probably going to procrastinate less. If you get more into the flow state, you're going to be more productive, you're going to procrastinate less. So it's like a little triangle.
Yeah. So what inspired you to become a productivity coach? Though earlier you said that you don't like people calling you a productivity coach, you like them calling you a productivity and procrastination community leader. So why don't
Yeah,
you like a productivity coach? Why don't you like that term?
that's a good question. I don't know why. I think the word coach now has a lot of labels among people in the society. And I think a lot of those labels are not so positive. And I don't want to be seen as someone that tells people what to do. I think the role of a coach or of someone like that is to inspire people and maybe to show them the journey. So I'm still looking for the right word. I still haven't found it. But as you said, being a community leader sounds a bit better. We get the community going, and that's something that I really enjoy. Just bringing people together, and that even sounds better. And what inspired me to get into productivity coaching? I think it's been a journey. I can't pinpoint one specific moment, but for sure, one thing is my me not wanting to go into 9 to 5. So I was looking for ways how to, uh, that I don't have to get a job, how to help people, and this kind of naturally happened that this is something that I can get into. And yeah, now this is something that I spent all my time with, learning about, of course, those topics, but also the business part of it, how it all works. So yeah, I think it's been a journey.
Yeah. So what was your personal like aha moment when you just mastered productivity?
I can't say I've mastered it. That would be uh, cocky a little bit of me to say. But yeah, I have to say that in last, especially year, I have been feeling really well in terms of getting things done and not procrastinating. I think that aha moment would be when I really thought about my vision, my why, my direction, where I want to go, and why I wake up from bed in the morning, and why I live. Like, why are we here on the planet? I was always thinking about it, but I never actually wrote it down or put it, or told someone. It was always like an idea in the back of my head. But until I really wrote it down and thought about it, I think that's when it clicked. So now every morning I wake up and I know my why. I know why I'm doing things. I have it written down. I even share with people in my group. One of the reasons is that I want to learn. I want to be the best version of myself as I can be. I want to travel the world. I want to be around amazing people. I want to just see what's out there, also inside. And this just really always gives me a lot of energy, really drives me. So then, if I'm not feeling good, or I want to do, scroll social media, or I want to do something else, I just think about, okay, like, I feel like that right now. Maybe I'm tired or something, but what is the big picture? Why am I here? And how long, ultimately do we live? We don't have forever to live. And then I just think about, okay, uh, for me, it's more important to chase my dreams, to try to make a positive difference in the world, than me for 5 minutes feeling like I want to scroll social media. I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to do that. And it's become a habit for me, and it's become much easier not to do it. Of course, sometimes I still, you know, do procrastinate, and I still enjoy sometimes doing nothing. But I think now I'm more aware of it, and I can kind of on command, I can do or not do certain things.
So, what challenges did you face while starting in this field, and how did you overcome them?
That's a good question. I think at the beginning, learning about the business side of everything, because you can be extremely good at something, but if you don't know how to sell it well, then you're not going to reach as many people. And that's something that I'm still working on. I feel like I've learned the basics, but I'm still looking for the best ways of how to reach out to people. There was an imposter syndrome that I felt like, who am I to even talk about these things? And I'm young. Why would I tell someone that is 40, 50, about these things? But then I thought about it, and I used to be a tennis coach when I was in the US, and I was coaching professors, lawyers, doctors that were much older, even some 70, 80-year-old guys, or women. And I thought
Yeah.
about, it's fine, right? Because I'm better at tennis. I can teach them tennis. So it's completely fine. Doesn't matter if I'm 15, 20, or 60. And I think it's same with other things. You just need to be a little bit better at a skill than someone else, and then you can do that. So some limiting beliefs, and I feel like I'm constantly trying to break them in my head.
Yeah. Earlier, you said that you studied biochemistry. So, what advantage did biochemistry give you in the field of productivity?
Also a good question. So if you're a biochemist, you have to read a lot of scientific papers, a lot of difficult
Yeah.
words, a lot of chemical terms, difficult terminology. And that's something that I had to learn in my second language. So, of course, my first language is Czech. So, at the beginning, it was pretty challenging to learn about, all these glycolysis, all these terms. And it can be really hard to read a 10-page paper. So, that's one thing, that if I read a study about some topics from productivity, or the flow state, it's easier for me to understand it, and I'm faster reading that. And as I mentioned at the beginning, during productivity during the flow state. There's a lot happening in our brain, or even during sleep. A lot of chemicals are being released, or some neurotransmitters. There's some reactions happening, or body is recovering, resting, and biochemistry explains a lot of that. So I was able to get a solid understanding of how the body works, why it works like that, and now I can apply to productivity from a different lens, that I feel like I can look beyond the techniques. So like, why, the 2 minute rule, 5 minute rule, like why does it really work? And I can kind of look at our brain. So I think it's been really useful for that.
Yeah, like I'm a medical student, so like after anatomy, biochemistry is like one of the hardest subject you can imagine. That is the mix of biology and chemistry. They just make it more worse.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
So yeah. So what do you believe is the biggest misconception people have about productivity?
I think people think they need to do more, that productivity is about hustling, productivity is about just working 20 hours a day. But in reality, productivity is not about the inputs as much. It's more about the outputs. It's about getting things done. And
Yeah.
when I had that realization, it really clicked, because there can be a task, and let's say somebody does it in 1 hour, but somebody takes 10 hours to do that. Who is more productive? Well, you can say the person that does it for 10 hours, because they work for 10 hours, they grind, they hustle, and they get it done. But that's not true. The person that gets it done in 1 hour is more productive. The goal is to spend the least amount of time on something and get it done, not to spend weeks, months on something. So I think this is for sure one thing that people, I think, have a little bit backwards.
Yeah, that's like I'm hustling, working for 12 hours every day, and you're sleeping 6 hours in between that, taking naps. It doesn't work like that. And so, what is your take in the balance between working harder and working smarter?
Yeah, that's a great point. I have been thinking a lot about that. I think you need to have both. You can't get away with just working hard or just working smart. However, I would say, I think, contrary to what other people say, I think working smart is actually more important than working hard. And if you unpack it, working smart means working on the right things. So let's say if there is some a project that you have to do, you have to identify the right things that you have to get done to get you to finish the project. If you just work hard, you're going to work, but on what? So first, figure out what you have to work on, work smart, and then you can work hard. So I can't put a number, 60-30, 50-50, something like that. I can't really put a number on it, but I think you have
Yeah,
to have both. And sometimes in your life, you have to work harder. Sometimes you have to work smarter. So it also depends on in which stage you are. And also, that's one thing, to a previous question, that people maybe get a little bit sideways. There is no right or wrong in these topics. Usually, I mean, maybe we can find some. If you drink a lot of alcohol or sleep badly, like, we know that these things are wrong. But somebody wakes up at 4 a.m. and feels amazing. Somebody wakes up at 10 a.m. and feels amazing and gets done the same amount of things. So the point is that productivity is subjective and relative, and it depends on the person, what works for them. So you're going to find for yourself what works for you. If you try to do everything as other people do, and that's the common advice from these business people, they tell you, oh, I wake up at 6 a.m., then I do 2 hours of meditation, then cold shower and all that. That's
yeah,
great, but it might not be the thing for you. So test it out,
yeah,
see if it works, and then go do that.
yeah. Everyone is a different person. Different things work for you. You're a morning person or a night person. It's different.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what? Yeah. What are your top three productivity habits you recommend everyone?
I'm gonna say it again. The personal vision. It doesn't sound like a productivity habit or hack, but
Yeah,
that's the meta. It starts with that. You have to have a reason why you do things, and it
yeah,
starts with the big one. So why do you wake up from bed in the morning? But also for each individual task that I do, there needs to be a good reason why I do this. So even for this conversation, why am I doing that? Well, there's a lot of reasons. I get to connect with you. I get to answer these questions. I get to talk about the things that I enjoy. I can reach some
yeah,
more people, and there's a lot of reasons why I'm doing this. And same
yeah.
for, if I have to do thing A, I have to have a reason why I do that. So I would say thing number one, I gotta say sleep. Uh, it just makes a big difference. When I sleep well, I get a lot of things done. If I sleep badly, then it's hard to apply any productivity tools really. And I would say journaling for number three. Why it works, you just get your thoughts on paper, and it just works really well. You have a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas in your head. You don't know what to do with that, so you just put it on paper. You think about it, you write it down, and then your head is much more clear, and you know what the next course of action is. And then, of course, there's a lot of, the 5 minute rule is amazing. Like when you don't feel like doing something, just set a timer for 5 minutes, start doing it, and often you're gonna keep going. Then we can find a lot of those tools. But I would say
Yeah.
I try to always think about the meta things, the 80/20. What are the most important things? And yeah, the personal vision. Without it, I couldn't really do things that I do. Sleep as well, and yeah, the journaling works extremely well.
So, how do you find your why? Like, let's say I'm starting out with productivity. Okay, how do I find my why? Like, why should I be productive?
Well, ask yourself what's important for you. Uh, why do you wake up from the bed in the morning? I think you really have to just go inside and think about what is important for you, because when you realize that, let's say you're studying at school or you're at work, and the more you get done at work, the better you do or at school, then it's going to translate into the rest of your life, into your relationships, into your family, into your future. So all these things are connected. But I think it's a journey, and you just keep asking yourself this question, and eventually it just clicks. But also, I would add that, again, there is no right or wrong answer. People have different whys, which is completely fine as long as it is the right why for you. And also, your why is going to change over time. So when you're young, when you're at school, your why can be to be a good doctor. Then it can switch more to being a good father, and learning about certain things. So yeah, just it's a journey. Ask yourself the questions. Be honest with yourself, because you have to be. You really have to go deep, and then you're gonna hear yourself, and you're gonna know what's your why.
Yeah, I usually tell people that you should connect it to a more emotional way because your brain is emotional, like at least the right side or the left side, and you connect it to an emotional way, and it'll form a more deeper connection to know your why. Yeah, that's a very good point. So, how should someone prioritize tasks when everything feels urgent?
Good question. um, Even if everything feels urgent, there's probably those two or three things that are more urgent than others, that are going to move the needle the most. So
Yeah,
always focusing on the 80/20. So what are the 20% of actions that are going to bring you 80% of the results? Always thinking about that. And then there's a good tool, which is the Eisenhower matrix, which tells you if the tool, as you mentioned, if it's urgent, if it's important. So then based on the results, so let's say if there is something that is not urgent and not important, well, why would you do that? So that's something that you can eliminate. If it's something urgent and important, then you wouldn't do it at the moment. But you were asking about when everything is urgent. Yeah, I think there's still those two or three things that are in a way more important than others. And then if there is something that you can delegate to someone, then you should do that. And of course, turn off all the distractions. So if you're really busy, if there's a lot of things happening, put your phone into flight mode or put it in a different room. Try to keep your workspace clean and just sit down to work and try to get everything done. And sometimes you're not going to finish everything, which is fine. So you're just going to accept, okay, I got done what I could get done, and some things just didn't get finished, which is also part of productivity. We got to accept sometimes things that we wish were different.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. How do you approach procrastination, and what practical steps can people take to overcome it?
So procrastination is it's an emotional thing. It's a way of our brain to kind of fight with the unknown or with the fear or with a different state. We just don't feel like doing something. So ideally, we want to approach it from the core. Uh, oftentimes, we are scared of that thing. Not like scared big time, but like a little, like what if I do that, then what is going to happen? So a good tool for that is fear setting. I was introduced by Tim Ferriss. If you guys want to look it up, I really recommend that. But also a big reason why we procrastinate is that there is lack of clarity. We simply just don't know what we should do. Let's say there is, you write down on your to-do list, I should do a project.
Yeah,
What does it mean? Like, should you write something? Should you do this or that? So the point is, if you make the task really clear, which should be super, super clear. So let's say write the first paragraph of the introduction for this thesis or something. The more clear you are, the easier it's going to be to get something done. So you have this in chemistry, you have this graph. Okay, it's hard to draw here, but you have the activation energy. And the higher the energy to do something, the less likely you're to do it. So if I want to go to a gym and the gym is 2 hours away, it's going to be really hard for me to go to gym consistently. If the gym is
yeah,
behind the corner, it's going to be much easier for me to do it. So asking yourself, what is the next action step? And making it super, super clear. So setting hyper clear to-do items or goals. Then I mentioned earlier the 5-minute rule. That's a good one, that if you don't feel like doing anything, just do it for 5 minutes. So set an alarm for 5 minutes. And if it's reading a book or meditating or working on some project, just do it for 5 minutes. Sometimes you're gonna, after 5 minutes, you're gonna be, okay, I'm done, I don't want to do it, which is fine. But oftentimes after those 5 minutes, you're gonna feel like, oh, okay, I'm actually, feeling good. I want to keep going. That's how you can beat procrastination. And there's also, well, I mentioned it already, but the personal vision, maybe in a smaller scale, knowing why you do something can also help a lot, because it gives you it gives you a reason why to do it, gives you the motivation. So it's easy to procrastinate on something that you don't want to do. If you want to do this, why would you procrastinate? So make it
yeah,
fun. Also, when there is a big project that you're working on or writing some long paper, go to your favorite coffee place, buy coffee or something that you like, and make it fun. Because if you just stay in your room and you say, oh my god, these 10 pages, I have to write it, well, instead, yeah, get a chocolate with it and it's gonna feel nicer. So these are the small things that can help with procrastination.
yeah. You should take small steps, and then eat the. There's a saying like eat the elephant slowly. First eat the leg, then the tail. I don't know how it goes, but something like that.
Never heard that, but yeah, you're right. Step by step, small steps.
Yeah,
There's a quote by Lao Tse: "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step," which is my favorite. And also James Clear's graph that when you get 1% better every day, like
yeah.
in a year,
It's
you're gonna be
it's mind blowing how that
it,
works.
exactly. So small things that get you some really cool results.
Hmm. So, what tools or systems do you personally use to stay productive?
So there is a bunch. I try to keep it simple because I know that I don't want to spend 20 hours a week on my productivity system. So the goal is to make it simple so I can be productive. Huge for me have been the weekly review, monthly review, and also yearly review. The weekly review, I do it every Sunday or Monday, and I just go through my week and also all the loose ends, all the notes, all the open tabs, my calendar for the next week, my workouts. I just check everything in the workspace that everything is ready. That takes me, if I do it really properly, it takes me about hour and 30 minutes, 2 hours at maximum. If I do it fast, I got it done in 30 minutes in 1 hour. And this is one thing that keeps me on track. So if I'm, it's Thursday, Friday, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit off track, I know that on Sunday, like I'm again going to be where I need to be. I read my personal vision. I make sure that I'm going where I want to go. The extension of this is the monthly review, which I do every month. At the end of the month, it's a little bit longer. It's more about the big picture. Also, I ask myself in terms of the pillars and the areas of life, how I'm doing. So, how I'm doing in terms of health, physical health, mental health, my family, relationships, my work, career, stuff like that. So, I go through each section individually. And again, it gives me a good way to come back on the right track. So, these are huge. I have
So,
a to
so
do
how do
list.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So, how do you go through these? Like, do you write it down every day, and then at the end of the week you'll see what you've done? Do you write it down somewhere or record it?
Yeah, so I have a to-do list. I have a calendar where I see the things that I was working on. In the calendar, I see the events. On the to-do list, I have the items, and then I take a lot of random notes everywhere. So then at the end of the week, I always collect all the notes. I put them in different places in my system. I use Notion, so I can highly recommend that. Of course, it takes some time to set it up, but I use Notion for a lot of my work. Yeah, the calendar, to-do list, reviews, and then there's different lists that I have. Of course, the personal vision. Then I have a page in Notion called Reminders, where I just have some principles, some reminders to myself, like, oh, stay in the present, um, meditate. And I should have thought of different examples, but yeah, it's like 50, 60 different things that if I need, I just read them. It reminds me of what is really important. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, just a bunch of different sections for physical health, for my work, for all these reminders, first principles. So if I need a Notion, that I know where to find my things. And I would say it's been a process. I started um, this couple of years ago, putting all information into one, and the system keeps evolving.
Yeah, you are a very productive person. I've never met a person. Yeah, I need to start doing that. Like, self-analyzation is very important to become better, because, like, I don't know if you know Andrew Tate. He said that the reason he speaks so properly, so clearly, is that after every interview, he watches his interview like 5, 6 times. That's why it's is, how do you adjust productivity tips for people with different personalities or work environments?
Yeah, great point. As you mentioned earlier, that it's important to know thyself because everyone is different and things work for you, they are not going to work for me, and vice versa. So that's one of the things that we do. Uh, the some initial assessments, knowing who we are, what is our tendencies. It's a big difference if you're extroverted, introverted, high neuroticism, or low, conscientious or not, orderly, not orderly. These are difficult words. But yeah, like doing the big five personality or the hexaco, these assessments, you guys might have heard about them in different forms. So that's how
Mhm.
you slowly know yourself. And then of course the tools needs to be adjusted, because if somebody works in an office, or on the other hand if somebody runs, after clients, so in the morning they are in this city, then they go to a different city, it's also different.
Yeah.
So always learning about the person and their specific needs. It comes down to what is their goals and priorities. And then there's a few things that, so if they tell me my goal is ABC, my priority is DEF, then I can tell them, okay, so these are probably the things that you could give it a shot. And then they try those things, because as I mentioned, not everything is going to work for everyone. And then slowly they add one thing at a time to the whole system, and that's eventually how the change is made.
What role does technology play in enhancing or hindering productivity?
Yeah, huge role. We have many tools. I mean, now with artificial intelligence coming, that can really
Yeah.
help us be more productive. Or just our laptops, our phones. It didn't used to be a thing 40 years ago, and no one had a phone in their hand like an iPhone, where we can do so much there. We have a timer there, we have a calendar there, we can call people, we can message people, we can look things up, we can take pictures, we can take videos. And this by itself is has increased the productivity, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of times, when we compare it to the history. And of course, even now,
Yeah.
tools like ChatGPT, Zapier, so many different things that can really help us be more productive. And I would say, if you're working on something, always think about if there's a tool that can do it for you or help you with it. Because now if you need to write something or edit something, like grammar for example, you can just use Grammarly and it's gonna underline the words. It takes you a few minutes to do
Yeah.
that. Otherwise, if you do it by yourself, it takes hours. So as we mentioned, work hard or work smart. So you can have a 10-page text, and your task is to, okay, fix the grammar mistakes or the typos. If you do that yourself, it could take you hour and a half easily. If you do it with Grammarly or with ChatGPT, for example, it's gonna take you 5 minutes, maybe less. So work smart.
Yeah, that's a very good example. Use use the technology to your advantage.
Yeah,
It depends on how you use it. You can either scroll or you can learn how to use ChatGPT.
yeah, huge difference there.
So yeah. So what are the common challenges? Sorry, what are the common productivity mistakes you see people making?
This could be one of them, that people do things even though they don't need to, and there is someone or a tool that can help them with it. As I mentioned earlier, the inputs versus outputs, as people focus too much on the inputs.
Hmm.
Environment management, environment engineering. I really like that combination of words, environment engineering. you are the one that is in charge of your environment 99.9% of the time. There are some cases where you can't, but if you're in your workspace or at home, you or in your car or really anywhere, or on your laptop, on your phone, you can set the environment up in a way that it's supportive for you. So I think one of the, I guess, mistakes we can call it, instead of putting in their shelves something healthy, people put chocolate bars there or donuts. It's like the thing, what you put on the table. If I had an apple here or a donut, I'm probably going to
Yeah.
eat either or. It's just because it's easier. So I think people could for sure do a better job with environment engineering. Just make it easy to do the right thing and make it difficult to do the uh, negative thing or the bad thing, the thing that you don't want to do. And if you can master that, then this can be a huge thing that's going to really help you, even just with our bed. Ideally, we want to use our bed just for sleeping or maybe for some couple other things. But when people work
Yeah.
and then they read there, like a bunch of different things. So if we can master our environment, that can really do a lot. And a lot of people have not been able to do that.
Yeah, speaking of environment, how do you deal with negativity by the people around you? Maybe your friends, your parents, maybe. How do you deal with that? How do you keep your environment good?
Yeah, as a good point, there is physical environment, like our space, but there's also people environment, which is equally as important. They
Yeah,
don't say it for no reason that you're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with, or your network is your net worth. It
yeah,
really plays a huge role. I have to say that I'm pretty lucky that most people in my environment are nice people, positive people for the most part, optimistic. But of course, sometimes there's bad days, or there are some people that they bring some negativity. Uh, well, one way is just to let it go and try to be that positive, optimistic person that bring maybe it's gonna flip them.
mm-hmm.
Or of course, in when the push comes to shove, you can stop talking to that person if it's really draining you. It's one way to do it. And yeah, just trying not to let the negativity get to you. And I think also here that's when the engineering comes in play. You can engineer your environment as well, your people environment. So you should, on purpose, you should talk to people that you believe are going to make you better people, that want the best for you. You shouldn't hang out with people that are envious of you or that do some bad things. So that's also your choice, who you spend time with. And of course, this takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, but over
Yeah,
weeks, months, years, if you spend time with the right people and if you're the right person yourself, which is also, of course, extremely important, then you can really, maybe you don't even have to deal with any negativity in your life.
yeah. You shouldn't have excuses of being surrounded by negative people. You can go online. Many great people, like most of my best friends, good friends, they are online. You, for example, don't give excuses. Yeah, work
Yeah.
on your environment. So, how can someone maintain productivity during stress or burnout?
Yeah. So when there's stress is good, but when there's too much stress, when the stress is chronic, it's not great. Of course, also burnout is a pretty common thing, happens to a lot of people. That's also one thing I would say, that sometimes people, they think they can fix burnout with a long vacation. Well,
Uh,
you
yeah,
can, but there is multiple types of burnout. Of course, one of them is that you're just tired and you need that vacation, so you take it. But for example, misalignment burnout, that you work in a company whose values you don't share. So then the
Mm.
solution is not to go for a vacation. The solution is to change jobs. Um, and at the time, it's important to be aware of, okay, I know I'm in stress. I'm probably burnt out. So then the most important thing is to get out of it as soon as possible. And for that, mainly recovery is huge. So if you're stressed, if you're burnt out, you got to make sure that you recover, that you sleep well, that you eat well, that you do some meditation, some breath work, or some running, or go to the gym, whatever works for you. Somebody likes cold showers, somebody likes to go to a sauna, somebody likes to go for a massage, to foam roll, to stretch. Doesn't matter as much, but you got to make sure that you um, get these things in. And yeah, so you got to start with this, and then this is gonna result in you being productive. It's hard to be productive when you're under extreme stress, but also, of course, it's possible. There's a lot of people that have stressful jobs and they are super productive. Sometimes that's how our brains react, but it's also the part of the reason why that happens is what story we tell ourselves about the stress. So do we tell ourselves, "Oh, I'm stressed. I don't feel good, and oh, my work it's so annoying," or is it like, okay, so now I have a lot of projects, a lot of commitments on my plate. I know I'm
Hmm.
stressed, but that's good. That's fine. I'm excited. This is something I'm working on, something cool, and this stress is here just for some time. And if something, I see it as a good thing. So this also plays a role. So yeah, first try to manage the stress or the burnout, try to get to the root cause, and then um, that should help you be more productive. But definitely, there's no reason why you could not be productive under high stress. No reason.
So for those who are not consistent with most of the things, what's your advice for them? How do you stay consistent? How do you be consistent?
Great question. I think a huge part of it is knowing your why, because why would you be consistent if you don't have a reason to? It's easy to stay in in a project, in a relationship for a few months when you have the chemicals and when you feel good, when it's easy. But then when the first when the chemicals are gone, it's much more difficult to do that. So, but if you
Yeah.
know your why, if you have the reason why you do that, that's going to help you be consistent. And of course, find something that you enjoy, find something that you love. Then it's going to be easy to be consistent. If you love playing tennis, if you love going to the gym, if you love writing, you don't need to force yourself to do that. You're just going to do that. So that also happens that sometimes people work on the wrong thing, or they're forced to work on the wrong thing, and then it's difficult to stay consistent. Then what can help is to have a strong why. I would like to mention the quote by uh, it was Viktor Frankl wrote it in his book, but I think Nietzsche said it. A man with a man who has a why can bear almost any how. It's paraphrased. I'm not sure if I got the words exactly, but the point is that if you have a why, then you can do pretty much anything. So I would say that's really important.
Yeah. It goes it goes back. What's your why? Why are you doing this? Why are you starting your business?
Yeah,
Why?
I can show you the Milo one pager. Yeah, so have written there. I want to become a peaceful warrior. I want to live. I want to see the world. I want to laugh. I want to learn about myself. I want to learn about other people. I want to make the world a better place. I want to become the best version of myself, to see what I can do, what I can be, uh, and that's going to result in me, getting the best possible spouse, wife. Then it's going to result in me having a family, which is also something that I really want to do, which is going to result in a good life. So it starts with me knowing myself, being a good person, and then spending time with other people, learning constantly about myself, about the world, and yeah, uh, this gives me so much motivation, so much drive. Just when I think about going somewhere, talking to some strangers, that's something that really drives me.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, how does productivity influences one's overall quality of life?
I think a lot, significantly, because if you constantly procrastinate, if you don't get things done, if you spend 10 hours on something instead of 5 hours, you don't have time for things that you really want to do, that you, for your family, for your hobbies, for whatever it is that you enjoy. And if you are productive, then you have time for all those things. And I think that's a
Mm.
huge thing. Everyone wants to spend time with their kids or with their friends, but if you spend a lot of time on things that you shouldn't, maybe, then it's going to be hard for you to spend time on the things that you want. So I think, of course, you don't have to be a perfect, super productive person doing all the things that every single day, spending 5 hours on your routines. Definitely not. But having an idea of the basic principles that can really go a long way with you. It can save you time, and that time can be used for anything, for making more money, for meeting more people, for traveling, for spending time with your family, for reading, for anything. So I think it's very, very important.
Yeah. What's your view on the relationship between productivity and creativity? How do you be more productive but be more creative? How do you balance that?
I think they go hand in hand. I think if you're productive, you can be, if you're more productive, you can be more creative, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you think productivity will evolve with the rise of AI?
I think it depends on how you look at the technology. If you see it as a bad thing, that's going to be one way how you're going to deal with it. If you see it as a good thing, it can really help you be creative, because let's say I'm working on anything, on a tool, on a project, on a campaign, and I ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm looking for a name for my video or for my campaign. Can you give me 10 suggestions, please? And it gives me 10 suggestions. And then maybe I think about some of them, but some of them I don't. And oh, this is really good. I can use that. So it can, I think, enhance your creativity. It doesn't replace it, but I think it can really help you be more creative and, of course, productive as well.
Well, what role does the mindset play in achieving peak productivity? And how can someone cultivate the right mindset?
Yeah, mindset is huge. It's crucial. You need to have the right mindset to get things done, and just for life. It's super important. It's a process, and I think it takes time for somebody. It's faster for somebody. Takes a little bit more time. Of course, huge difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. I guess that's where it starts. If you have a fixed mindset, if you believe that everything is predetermined, that you can't get better, that you can't do it, well, guess what? You probably will not be able to do that. On the other hand, if
Mhm.
you feel like, if I put the work in, if I try, then I can do it, then for sure you can. And there's a lot of small tweaks, like things in your head, some limiting beliefs, some principles, thinking from the first principles, just accepting some things, or for example, uh, also our language that we use. I get to versus I have to. I have to go to the gym, or I get to go to the gym. Big difference there.
Yeah, yeah,
And how you can cultivate your mindset, I say there's a lot of different ways how to do that. Read, read books, read quality books, talk to people, listen to people, but also uh, filter what you hear through your own thing. Ask why. Why is the thing the way it is? Asking why is huge, because if somebody tells you, hey, David, you should do this, because I tell you. It's like, okay, why does it actually make sense? So think about, always ask why. I think if you ask why, if you're honest with yourself, you have to do both, then you can really slowly get to the core of the problem, and you can slowly change your mindset. And also action, because if you don't take action, then you might have those things maybe in your head, but without action, vision or knowing information is pretty useless. So combining learning information with doing, and as you do, you get feedback, you can iterate, you do more, you do better, you fail again, but you fail better, and you learn, and you constantly learn, and you get better and better. And as you do that, your mindset naturally shifts. But yeah, it starts with, do I believe I can or I can't? Do I take responsibility for my life, or I'm going to blame others? This is huge. You probably have heard it many, many times. Everyone says that, but
Mhm.
it's really true. Like, you have to take responsibility for your life, for your failures, also for your successes, of course. But if you make excuses, if you blame others, it's going to be hard uh, to function in this world.
Yeah. So, like, even adding all this stuff, how should your daily routine look like for a long-term productivity?
I say, I'm not going to say how it should look like. I'm going to say how it could look like, because as I said,
Yeah.
uh, you got to find the right thing that works for you. But of course,
Mhm.
there is some building blocks that would be good to have, um, and that are pretty necessary, which would be sleep. So I say get 8 hours of sleep, at least 8 to 9, 7 to 9. Ideally, that's gonna get your brain in the right state. That's gonna help you rest and just get ready for the day. Um, Having some deep work every single day. Deep work meaning you and your work, no phone, no distractions, no sounds. You can have your earphones on noise cancellation, and you just go. So again, for somebody, a morning person likes to do it in the morning, night person likes to do it at night. So if you
Yeah.
have to find what kind of person you are. Quality food, I mean, eat things that you like, that do well for you. Shouldn't eat donuts all day. Shouldn't eat just sugar, salts, burgers, and all that stuff every day. Of course, sometimes you can, but 80%, 90% should be good quality food. Move your body. I think that's necessary, and this can be anything. Can be yoga, can be running, can be boxing, can be going to the gym, anything. But it's important to move your body, which is again going to lead. It's going to have positive second, third order consequences. You're going to sleep better. You're going to feel better. So that's
Yeah.
huge. And as I mentioned, some of the tools, you can have a toolkit of 5 minute rule, of how to overcome decision paralysis, meditation, breath work, all these tools that you can come back to, and that you can during the day just do when you need to. I would say meditation is good, but again, maybe not for everyone. The weekly review, the monthly review, you were asking long term. So I think these are crucial. Weekly, monthly review. We have a really nice resource database in our group, including the weekly review. So if you guys are interested, I can link it. It's simple. There's a template. You just do those things that are there, and it keeps you on track for weeks, for months, for years. Um, and I would say also add some journaling, some reflection. Doesn't have to be journaling, but some reflection. Just go for a walk and think about your life, your day. How's it going? What are you planning for the rest of the day? What did you do? How did it go? And anything else that works for you. Find somebody likes to work out for 2 hours. Somebody likes to do a quick run. Spend some time with people. Also, I would say, because it's important. We are social animals. We need to spend time with people, and again, that's going to release the chemicals in our brain. So whether it's in person, whether it's online, of course, it's probably better in person. But spend time with people, because if you're in your room by yourself alone all day, you're not going to feel as good. And I would finish it with what I would really recommend: going for a walk in the morning, uh,
Mhm.
for multiple reasons. First one, you just think about the day, what you're planning, um, give a little preview to the day. And second one, Andrew Huberman, you might have heard about it. You get the sunlight in your body, and this your circadian rhythm, the 24 cycle, stays in
Yeah.
place, which is going to help you with sleep and going to make you feel better. So you don't have to do all of these, of course not. Some of them, see what really works well for you, and then go do it. And if you do these few things, then yeah, you can be really productive. Your procrastination is probably going to go down. You're going to feel better, and that's going to result in other areas of your life feeling better. So small things can lead to some really great outcomes, I would say.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, uh, that's just saying that the sleep is important. So, as someone who has an entrepreneurial mindset, you start calculating like if I sleep 8 hours every day, and if you multiply 8 hours into seven sets of 49, 7 8 of 56, that's 56 hours every week of sleep. That's like
It's a
three
lot.
days. It's a lot. So yeah, but sleep is important. Your brain is most active when you're asleep.
Hmm.
So the next question is, how do you suggest people handle tasks that don't align with their long-term goals but still need to be done?
Okay, if it needs to be done, really make sure that it needs to be done. If it doesn't need to be done, throw it away, or you can delegate it. So if you can give it to someone else that can do it for you, do that. And
Let's say it's your college, it's your studies. You don't want to do it, but you have to. You can't delegate it to anyone because there will be exams, tests, whatever you to call it. How do you do that? Like your
I think
heart
there's
and
two
soul.
options. Sorry,
Yeah.
two options. Either first one, think about, like, why are you in college? Are you there to be a scientist, to be an engineer? And you just gotta accept that sometimes you have to go through the whole education to get the degree which you need, if you want to do something, and that there's going to be subjects and topics that you just don't like. You got to accept that. But the idea of, okay, I'm doing this so I can be a doctor and help other people, that should help you get through that. So if you have that why, if you know why you're doing it, then it should help you. If you don't have this why, or if it doesn't attract you much, if it's like, yeah, I'm here, I want to be an engineer, but maybe not really, I don't know, then maybe you should think about if you're in the right place. But yeah, the having the why, I had a similar experience. I was in my for my last semester in college, I had to finish a ridiculous amount of courses and of exams and of research and of my thesis, and it was honestly, it was insane. I was studying or being in lab like all the time. But why did I do it, and why did I enjoy it? Because I knew my why. I knew that if I finish everything, I will get my degree, which is going to lead into me being able to get my master's faster, work as a tennis coach, teach at the university, make money so I can travel. So, me being in college right now, doing things, a lot of them that I didn't enjoy, would lead eventually into me traveling. So, this why really helped me get through that.
Yeah. So, what role does physical health play? Example, sleep, diet, exercise, and productivity.
Yeah, huge. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
the better you sleep, the more productive you are. The more you do sports, the healthier you are, probably the more productive you're going to be, and you're going to feel better. So it's not about productivity, just in general. You're gonna feel better. You're gonna be healthier. You're gonna live longer. So yeah, you should for sure prioritize your physical health, because there's another quote: "A healthy man has 10,000 problem, but a sick one has one problem." To get healthy,
Yeah,
so appreciate being healthy, prioritize that, because once you lose your health, it's no, you can't buy it with money. There's no way, no going back. To really make sure that you stay healthy.
yeah. That's what people take for granted. And when you get a problem, and that's your one goal, like a fracture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So, what's a common productivity tip you think people should stop following?
I would say do more. I still see that a lot of people just say, like, do more, hustle more.
Hmm.
I think you shouldn't do that. First, you should think about what you should work on, and if it makes sense to work hard on it, then work hard on it, of course. But start with the smart work. Start with why, and then go to the work.
What's one piece of advice you wish you'd known at the beginning of your journey?
I love these questions. Uh, Advice. Now I can't think of a specific sentence, but I wish I had more critical thinking, and like, so that someone told me, yeah, ask why for every single thing, because so many things that I thought were like true, now I see that are not, and the fact that everyone believes it doesn't have to mean that it's true. So why? So if someone told me question everything, I think my life would be much easier and much better, and I would
Yeah.
not have a lot of problems that I did. So I think that's probably one that I would say.
Yeah, I wish someone would have told me that. I remember I was watching a movie. So, you can learn so much from watching good movies. So, usually when I watch any movie, I usually have my journal and I write down the lines which I like. So, one line that really hit hard was, "The journey to greatness is a solitary one." So, yeah, as you reach higher levels, you will lose friends, you will lose people because they don't align with your vision, with your uh, life where you want to be. So, yeah, don't be afraid to be alone. Eventually, you'll find great people, but they're like somewhere at the top, you're down, the middle is little hollow, empty. Yeah, three books that you recommend everyone should read.
The Power of Now. This could be behind me. The Atomic Habits.
Yeah, that's a great book.
And number three. These two are 100%. But again, it might not, work for you at this exact time. I also had to read it once, but then I read it again, and then it really hit, especially The Power of Now. Um, Man's Search for Meaning. Now I say The Alchemist. The Alchemist by Paul Coelho.
Yeah, yeah. Pablo Coelho.
Yeah, or how you pronounce it. Yeah,
Yeah. The last question. What is the best quote that you've read or heard?
I would have to look through my quote database from the top of my head. Yeah, either the one that has a Y, can bear almost anyhow. I think that's like that's huge. And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I used to write a blog, and I put it on the top of the page there. And as I
Yeah.
was traveling and as I was starting to do all these projects and businesses, if I look at the whole thing, it's like I can never do that ever in my life. But how did everyone start with a single step? So I think it's a nice little motivation. But I would say, I guess the why quote is probably stronger than this one. But both are amazing.
Yeah. I have one quote which, yeah, I found it. I saw on Instagram, so it's not the best place to find quotes, but the heaviest thing in life aren't iron and gold, but unmade decisions. The reason you are stressed is that you have decisions to make and you are not making them. So I don't know by who
That's
this
good.
is, but yeah, it's a very good. Thank you, David. Thank you for taking your time for this interview. Really enjoyed speaking to you, and I hope others find it useful. Where can people find you? You have a school community, so do talk about that.
Yeah, we do have a school community. We're gonna link it down below. It's called the Peaceful
Mhm.
Warriors. We got 65 people at the moment, so maybe when you're watching it, we got more. And we talk about a lot of the things that we talked with Amar today. We talk about a lot of that in the community. Uh, we try to bring people together that want to get better, that want to learn about more about how to be more productive, but also just how to live a good life, how to feel better, how to save time to spend it on things that they want. So if you're interested in these topics just a little bit, I recommend. I think it could be a great place for you. A lot of value there. Then I have a YouTube channel that I'm starting to post videos on again. Feel free to check that out as well. And my social media, Instagram, Twitter. And also I travel. So I got my travel channel going. Now it's picking up. So I'm really excited about that. I'm posting videos retrospectively as I was traveling last year. So I'm doing that. But I would say the main thing to the topic is the school group. So hopefully I'm going to see you guys there and speak to you soon as well. And Amar, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You had some really good questions, genuinely made me think, and that was a time extremely well spent. That was a very productive time. So I thank you for it.